Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today a very detailed forecast update coming your way. We've got a lot of factors in the Australian forecast certainly being kept on our toes. We're going to start things off by that strong cold front that swept through Western Australia and is now impacting communities along the South Australian coastline into Victoria and Tasmania. We'll also talk about some more rainfall on the cards for Western Australia. We'll talk about a very powerful amount of snowstorms expected to come through across Victoria and New South Wales. We'll also take a look up in Queensland and talk about the weather up there. We've been neglecting them for the last month, so all of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new to the channel, please do consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video while you're at it. Your support is greatly appreciated. So as you can see here on the satellite map, you can see this cold front now streaming into the Great Australian Bight, and it's expected to move across South Australia and Victoria throughout the course of today. Already some strong winds being reported along the South Australian coastline, especially through the Eyre Peninsula and up towards Ceduna. Winds there haven't picked up too much yet, but we're looking at wind gusts up towards 50 kilometers an hour around Port Lincoln, and they will continue to pick up throughout the course of today. We'll get the latest radar and satellite imagery loaded up, and you can already start to see a fair amount of rainfall starting to stream in. Some light to moderate rain in at the southeastern parts of South Australia, which will turn into moderate to heavy rainfall throughout the course of today. Some showers already approaching the Adelaide area, and some consistent light to moderate rainfall outside of Ceduna and Streaky Bay up on the Oyster coastline. So this rainfall will continue throughout the course of today. We'll take a look at the forecast right now for it. You can see as we progress throughout the course of today, the rainfall will sweep up from the south and impact areas such as Port Lincoln, Kangaroo Island and Adelaide, and then later today for communities around Mount Gambier and Robe. The rainfall not expected to be too heavy across the South Australian coastline. The rainfall will be a little bit heavy along Tasmania, but it will only be light and moderate through Victoria. Rainfall there picking up throughout the course of today. It will start basically from when this video is expected to go live. But we are expecting the rain to be pretty consistent and pretty much moderate to heavy from tonight in places. Melbourne not expecting too much, only a couple of millimetres there, but communities such as Bendigo or Ballarat or some of the agricultural communities closer to the coastline, especially in the western half of the state, expecting some good rainfall there. The snowfall is going to be something we'll talk about in just a couple of minutes, but expecting a lot of that to build up from tonight. Full-blown blizzard conditions are possible, and those winds that will be bringing the blizzards will also continue through the Bass Strait. Already we're starting to see wind gusts up towards 70-80 kilometers an hour, and on the northern side of Tasmania sustained at 55, getting closer towards 70 up there. The rainfall won't really pick up for the northern parts of Tasmania, but still expecting some rainfall and showers over the next couple of hours, especially for the west coast around Strahan, Queenstown and up towards the northwest capes and so forth. A little bit of wet snow as well expected on the highlands, but in regards to the Tasmanian weather, really not expecting anything in terms of rainfall throughout the course of Saturday. There will be a couple of showers streaming through on the weekend, especially in towards Sunday, or the later half of the weekend on Sunday. However, they're not really expecting too much in the way of rainfall on Saturday, when Victoria and South Australia will be getting their rainfall. In terms of rainfall for South Australia, will be clearing out by Saturday. Just a few light showers lingering around the coastline that will continue through Saturday, but by Sunday the rainfall will be completely eased off for everywhere apart from the extreme southeastern coastline around Robe and Mount Gambier, and a few showers to the Adelaide area. But the rainfall will be pretty consistent across the west coast of Tasmania, so tomorrow the heads up could be a lot of rainfall falling there, up towards 80 millimetres for some locations on Sunday, and this rainfall will continue into Monday as well. Just a week of streaming miserable wet weather in towards the west coast of Tasmania before some actual cold front activity takes place again on Wednesday and Thursday. But this one doesn't look too strong either. It's going to be the one after it that looks like it's going to be packing a bit of a punch. Some strong winds behind it for the west coast and also parts of Victoria and South Australia. In all, it's just a stock standard. It's a pretty typical week powered by the southern annular mode. There's nothing too crazy about the weather that's going to be coming through here. Just a stream of showers and snow for the highlands into Tasmania, Victoria and also South Australia. Not that they're expecting any snow, but it does just look like stock standard winter weather here. Absolutely nothing to be concerned about over the next 10 days. In terms of rainfall accumulation over the next 3 days for Victoria and South Australia, that's kind of where the bulk of the rainfall is going to be happening. Some good falls on the Eyre Peninsula, especially down towards Port Lincoln, 15 millimetres or so, but the remainder of the Eyre Peninsula up towards Ceduna, really not expecting much. It's going to be hit and miss up to 5 millimetres. Adelaide expecting a healthy 25 millimetres just from showers that are going to be streaming through today, tomorrow and then in towards Sunday as well, but the rainfall will be easing off there by the later parts of this weekend. In the southeastern corner of the state as well, well. Mount Gambier, Robe expecting up to 50 millimeters. Again, once you get hit inland, the rainfall will be a bit more hit and miss. The western half of Victoria expecting a pretty consistent 25 millimeters for locations south of Ararat and Ballarat and Bendigo. Also looking at some good rainfall in the highlands of Victoria, but the majority of this will fall at snowfall in the end. The northern coast of Tasmania as well, expecting some good rainfall, in the west coast always expecting good rainfall. And while we're here, we might as well take a look at the 10-day rainfall forecast as well. It looks like there's going to be a huge amount of rainfall streaming in ashore over the next 10 days, in fact, up towards 150, maybe even 200 millimeters of the stuff, and that's very common for this time of the year in Tasmania. It happens a couple of times a year, every single year, having 20, maybe 25 millimeters a day for a week straight on the west coast of Tasmania, so again, nothing to be worrying about over there. There are a couple of rivers, especially on the eastern parts of Tasmania, that are already flowing at minor flooding levels. They have had a lot of rainfall so far this year, so just be cautious if you do live in a flood-prone area. There is going to be enough rainfall to bring in a few flooding concerns, and also into Victoria as well. There is going to be a lot of rainfall, and if we do get like 1 or 2 hot days, especially for low-lying locations, that melts the snow next week, which isn't necessarily on the forecast, but it only takes a shift of 2 or 3 degrees in the actual temperature. There could be a little bit of flooding, maybe minor or moderate flooding as well next week, just considering how much rainfall and snowfall is coming in. So again, just stay safe. Nothing to be worrying about right now. There's no warnings or watches out for Victoria or Tasmania, but just stay safe in a weather event like this. It's imperative. New South Wales as well expecting some good rainfall, but it's not going to be making it up the coast. Sydney is going to continue its dry run, same with Brisbane and same with the northeastern part of New South Wales. They're going to be continuing their dry streak. A little bit of rainfall has been tickling the forecast towards the start of August, but it hasn't made it onto this run yet, so we will just wait and see, but I'm not overly confident in it at all. So yeah, it is looking like a relatively wet picture in the south and a relatively dry picture up in the north through parts of New South Wales. Nothing severe either, apart from what I want to talk about now, which is the blizzard conditions that are expected to develop tonight across the highlands through New South Wales and Victoria. We'll fob the wind observations off, they're getting annoying now, but we're expecting widespread snowfalls developing from this afternoon and evening across New South Wales that will be extending as far north as Katoomba, Bathurst and Orange once again. Barrington Tops could also get a couple of flurries, which will make up for the completely disappointing totals that they got a couple of days ago. I mean, the storm was really hyped up, but it really didn't materialize into something anywhere north of Orange, or a line from Orange to Sydney. But tonight will be the real deal, looking like blizzard conditions across the highlands through New South Wales. Snowfall expected above 1,300 metres and whiteout conditions above 1,800 metres for Victoria and 1,900 metres for New South Wales. So make sure you are off the roads and hunker down for the weekend with plenty of, maybe not ice cold beers, but warm cups of tea to get yourself through this very powerful blizzard type condition that's going to be coming through. The highlands just expecting flat out snow up towards maybe 2, 3, maybe even 4 centimetres an hour for 1 or 2 unlucky locations. In terms of complete snowfall accumulations this weekend, in fact, just on Saturday until the snowfall and the rainfall clears out, we're looking at snowfall accumulations up towards 30, 40 centimetres, quite widespread. In fact, 1 or 2 pockets here on this forecast up to 50 centimetres. Now, I don't think that 50 centimetres will necessarily materialise. That's a huge amount of snowfall to be occurring on just one day, because the bulk of this will be coming through on just Saturday alone. However, I do expect accumulations of settling snow to be at least 15, maybe 20 centimetres, and total accumulations to be around 30 or 40 centimetres around Thredbo and the adjacent communities to it. In Victoria, the snowfall will be a little bit lighter. I still think 45 centimetres here for Mount Buller is a little bit bullish at this time, no pun intended. And around Mount Hotham, again, 30 centimetres is a little bit on the aggressive side. A couple of flurries expected as low as 1,300 metres, maybe as low as 1,100 metres, depending on whereabouts you live and the chances of snow on just a general winter front. But there is some pretty widespread snow expected from this winter weather system that has to be set at this time. And some more snow, wet snow this will be, might I add, outside of Katoomba and Lithgow and Bathurst, and maybe a couple of flurries of wet snow up towards Orange as well. The Barrington Tops also expecting a few flurries of wet snow, but none of this will settle here. And that really isn't anything to be worrying about, but just know conditions will be cold enough, and they certainly be violent enough for some blizzard conditions and some heavy snowfall throughout the course of tonight. So like I said, make sure you are hunkered down with plenty of warm cups of tea, because this is going to be a very powerful winter system coming through tonight and into tomorrow morning, and the snowfall will continue all through Saturday. Damaging winds expected. Need I say much more, to be honest? I mean, it's Thredbo. The weather can get absolutely brutal up there, so make sure you are hunkered down and nice and warm for a weather event like this. Certainly looking like it's going to be a strong one. Nothing too crazy, but certainly going to be a strong one, that's for sure. While we're here, we might as well talk about the cold snap that's expected to be extending across New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland once again. So we have woken up once again to some pretty cold conditions, especially across New South Wales, Victoria and Queensland, powered by this high pressure system that's going to be shifting out in the wake of this cold front. So the return to the more milder weather conditions will be beginning from this afternoon, but still very cold conditions this morning across the mountains through New South Wales and Victoria, down to -5, a stock standard night for Thredbo, but still really cold. And then once this snow kicks in as well, we're expecting some very cold conditions across Thredbo and the mountains on Saturday, but that's going to be the only exception. The remainder of New South Wales and Victoria remaining relatively mild in all fairness, but feels like temperatures will be very cold. They'll be much below the real-time temperature, so make sure you are once again rugging up. There will be a return to the cold sometime early next week. I mean, Monday we're looking at some cold conditions powered by a high pressure system over the northern parts of New South Wales and the southern parts of Queensland. It's not too powerful, so the temperatures won't be too far below freezing, but still a frost day, in fact a frost week possible on Monday, Tuesday and maybe Wednesday as well, with the cold conditions moving out into the Tasman Sea by Wednesday, and it looks like Thursday will be returned to the more milder conditions across the agricultural parts of New South Wales as a little bit of rainfall sweeps in. Be very cold towards the end of next week across Tasmania and Victoria, but in terms of a weather forecast for New South Wales and Queensland, it's just going to be a couple of cold mornings on Monday, Tuesday and Wednesday for the northern parts of New South Wales and Queensland, and then a return to the more milder conditions. In fact, some warm conditions expected sometime next week in the northern parts of Queensland, just a heads up there. Now, while we're over east, we might as well just get all of the forecasts done. This is going to be a bit of a Queensland-focused minute. I'm just going to get a bit of a rapid-fire forecast out. There's another very cold morning up in the northern tablelands outside of the tropics. Very, very cold indeed. I think yesterday morning, Mareeba got down to 4 degrees. It's been their coldest morning for a year up there, and a few more cold mornings are still on the forecast, but conditions will start to warm up a little bit this weekend. Still expecting some cold starts, especially for locations in the northern tablelands. Temperatures will be significantly below 10 degrees, and that's not too cold, especially for the majority of my metro viewers, but still up there, very, very cold indeed, especially when it averages 30 degrees Celsius for basically 6 months of the year. That is very cold indeed, so hopefully a little bit of reprieve for the cold starts, but it is certainly winter, so we do expect them up in far north Queensland. Also, if you haven't noticed, but on the 10-day rainfall accumulation forecast, a little bit of rain for not just far north Queensland, the Cassowary Coast and the Daintree Coast, but for the majority of the Queensland coastline as well. And I know I'm really cherry picking here because it's only a couple of millimeters, but we'll still take a look at it because next week it looks like an onshore flow powered by a low pressure system in the Coral Sea is going to be bringing some light showers and maybe the odd thunderstorm here and there for locations north of the Sunshine Coast, right up to through Rockhampton, Gladstone, Bundaberg, up towards Mackay, even for Townsville, Cairns and Cooktown, expecting a few showers here and there on Tuesday. And then they'll continue up in towards far north Queensland on Wednesday, and some light showers still continuing for the central Queensland coastline. Again, nothing crazy in terms of rainfall, only a couple of millimeters is expected, but still it could be a return to some stronger winds, some fresher winds out of the east, and a couple of showers here and there next week. So some more unpleasant weather, especially for this time of the year where they're expecting their 6 months of sunshine, but a little bit of a return to the unpleasant weather expected sometime early to the middle parts of next week. These rainfall accumulations will be adding up across far north Queensland though. I mean, like I said, rainfall can completely blow out of the forecast, but 50 millimeters on the forecast for areas around Blend and Kerr outside of Innisfail and Tully. They could certainly blow out in towards 100 millimeters, and 50 millimeters falling in a 24-hour period anyway will certainly cause some problems in terms of flooding. The Daintree is slightly wetter with actually 50 millimeters on the forecast here, however, not too concerned. The rivers there are flowing at their normal marks. In fact, they're really starting to dry up in the Daintree forest, so it does look like this 50 millimeters will be very welcome rainfall. But like I said a few videos ago, it's only a couple of months now until the summer rains are going to be upon us. It's only 2 or 3 months until I'm going to have to start covering areas in far north Queensland, because again, 100 millimeters today and then 200 millimeters tomorrow. My oh my, has time flown. So if you do live in far north Queensland and you are watching every now and then, definitely start to tune in a little bit more, because the weather is going to become a lot more interesting for you guys up there. And if you are from far north Queensland, you're a first time viewer, first of all, hello. Second of all, please do consider subscribing. Your support is greatly appreciated. Now, we've covered basically the entirety of eastern Australia, so it's time to head over west now and show some love to the southwest and the Perth area. A lot of viewers over there. They were just impacted by a pretty strong cold front overnight, and it has brought some significant rainfall totals in, all from this weather event. My gauges now picked up a very healthy 65 millimetres, and a lot more gauges have picked up a lot more than that as well. We're in a cop 50 millimetres from the initial front and another 20 millimetres overnight, so at least 70 millimetres is the highest total around the Perth metro area. So we will just keep on watching, and if you do have a higher total, then do let me know in the comment section down below. We'll get back to all of the comments on this video. So taking a look in the future now, we don't have any rainfall really coming through the course of today, but a couple of showers expected this weekend for the southwest, extending about as far north as Cervantes or Jurien Bay for the unlucky people up there. A bit of a miserable weekend by the looks of things. It's just going to be light to moderate showers streaming in from the west. It should be calm winds, and temperatures shouldn't be too cool, but still it's going to be a pretty miserable weekend, all things considered, until the real rainfall comes back Monday night and into early Tuesday morning. The Bureau of Meteorology has highlighted between 7 and 30 millimetres of this cold front, so again, they're pretty uncertain with the amount of rainfall that's going to be coming through, but just looking at how this cold front kind of sweeps up from the south, this doesn't really scream rainmaker to me, so I would be calling for accumulations between 15 millimetres for Perth and maybe up towards 25, 30, possibly 35 for locations on the Darling Range, especially down towards Collie. They can pick up some really heavy rainfall from cold fronts like this, so again, we'll just have to wait and see. This is a pretty weird weather system. It doesn't happen that often. Those cold fronts that sweep up straight out of the south, they don't happen all that often, especially this time of the year. So it's a bit of an interesting weather system to be looking at, but it still could dump some decent rainfall around the Perth metro area and especially down towards the southwest as well. And as with all cold fronts this year, it seems like it makes it as far north as the northern parts of the Wheat Belt and even in towards the Gascoyne as well. Communities such as Kew and Mount Magnet, even Meekatha, are expecting a couple of drops of rainfall from this weather system on Tuesday evening as it moves through, and even the Goldfields expecting some rainfall too. So a very widespread rainfall situation is expected. The showers for the south coast and the Perth coastal areas are continuing through Tuesday and Wednesday, easing off by around Thursday night as another cold front brushes up from the south, but still it looks like as this high pressure system sets itself up in the Great Australian Bight, just more showers expected throughout next week and next weekend as well as we get into the later parts of July. Typical weather for this time of the year, but it does look like it's going to be that unpleasant, really slow moving, drizzly, light shower garbage that we're also going to be seeing this weekend. So for Perth people, tomorrow and Sunday looks like it's just going to be a couple of miserable days, and we're just going to have to get through the weather there. We're not used to drizzly conditions, but the weather is going to resemble more of that of Hobart's or Melbourne's in the leeway of these strong cold fronts. So again, just a heads up on that. You might not be able to get any washing done tomorrow. In terms of rainfall accumulations over the next 3 days, so including this weekend, basically not too much in the way of rainfall is expected. Just a couple of millimetres here and there. The Perth metro area, in fact, expecting next to nothing, just a couple of drops, maybe 2 millimetres. The Darling Ranges, which do capture the rainfall and basically the watershed of the southwest, they're expecting up towards 15 millimetres. Some good accumulations expected there. Rainfall not penetrating anywhere inland either. If you're very lucky in the Wheat Belt, you might get 1 or 2 millimetres, but really nothing to be writing home about. In terms of 10-day rainfall accumulations from two cold fronts, they do look a lot healthier. The Perth metro area expecting up to 50 millimetres, some good rainfall as well up the coast, up towards 70, maybe 80 millimetres. But again, model uncertainty is really keeping me from making a good forecast, especially about 5 or 6 days into the future. There'll be more information and a very detailed update on the cold front that's going to be coming through Monday night and Tuesday morning in tomorrow's video. I'm just not 100% sure of the ifs and whats in regards to that system, but if you do have a specific question regarding the weather around the southwest or anywhere around Australia for that matter, then please do leave it in the comment section down below. I'll get back to as many people as I can. And that is a wrap up on the Australian weather forecast. Here's a look at Australia from the rainfall accumulation map. It looks pretty boring, to be honest, all things considered. There's not too much in the way of rainfall. There is a lot across the south, especially the southeast, but again, nothing too crazy happening there. And on that note, I'm going to leave it this weather forecast. If I have left anything unanswered for you, then please do let me know in the comment section down below. A special shout out to the channel sponsors. Their names are on screen right now, and I could not be running the show without them, so their support is greatly appreciated. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing and also leave a like on the video as well. Your support as well is greatly appreciated. But that is all for me this morning, and I'll catch you all in the next storm. Goodbye.